Bro, you ain't care how she was when you left her on the side of that road, so don't ask about her now. Hey y'all, welcome and or welcome back to my channel. My name is Janae, if you didn't know, and today's video is another true crime episode. So if you're ready, let's go. Alright y'all, so first things first, we did our nails this week. Very basic, very regular. I kind of just wanted to get some nails on my hands. I didn't really want to do too much. I wanted it to be quick, simple, and so yeah, that's what I did. What else? What else? Oh yeah, so duh. So we have finally made it to over 1,000 subscribers. Thank you, thank you, thank you. As of right now, I have 1,061 subscribers. So thank you to all of the new subscribers. Welcome to the channel. Hey y'all. And shout out to the OGs who've been rocking with me since day one, since when my videos were trash, okay? We have come a long way since then. But yeah, y'all, I'm super, super excited. However, a couple videos back, for the OGs and the ones who've been rocking with me since they've been rocking with me, I said that I wanted to do a Q&A with y'all when I reached 1,000 subscribers. But guess what? Ain't now one of y'all asked me no questions. So I ain't got nothing to answer. I mean, maybe y'all don't want to know nothing about me, or y'all already know a lot about me. One of the two, because I, my sister, my cousins, they be watching. So they probably don't have no questions, because I talk to them all the time. Okay, it's okay, y'all. We gonna figure something out. We'll figure something out. And secondly, I want to pop my shit real quick because I've had this shirt for a couple of years now, and it amazes me every time I put it on because I made this shirt. I think that's quite impressive. It really still just trips me out that I was actually able to pull this off, like a whole entire long sleeve turtleneck. I mean, it got its flaws, but we here now, so. And it's functional. And I like, and the fact that it ain't torn apart and broke up, I done washed it multiple times, you know what I'm saying? So like, I'm proud of myself. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into today's case. So Aisha Frazier was born on January 18th, 1973. And there's not a lot of information out there about her early childhood, about her growing up. But what I do know is that she made her career as an educator. She was a 6th grade history and math teacher at Woodbury Elementary School in Shaker Heights, Ohio. And she had 2 daughters, a little girl named Audrey and another little girl named Ava. And she had these 2 kids by a man named Lance Mason, and he was a judge in Cuyahoga County, and the 2 of them married in 2005. But by August of 2014, Lance and Aisha had been having some troubles within their relationship, because as far as I'm aware, like from what I could understand, Lance was low-key abusive to Aisha throughout the course of their marriage. And not so much physically, but mostly mentally, emotionally, and he had some control and anger issues going on. And Aisha, being such a loving and caring person, she suggested that Lance get counseling. However, Lance would never get around to getting this counseling that Aisha had suggested for him. And so his anger issues and controlling ways just continued. And by 2013, Aisha was fed up. She was done with it. She didn't want to have nothing else to do with it. She just could not deal with this man anymore. And so she decided that she and Lance would separate. However, just because her and Lance separated did not mean that Lance had to separate from the kids. Aisha always wanted to maintain the type of relationship where Lance, come get your kids. She really just wanted to maintain a cordial type of relationship. And Aisha would even be there for Lance sometimes in his times of need. So when Lance lost his mom in August of 2014, Aisha was there for him emotionally. She would even attend his mom's funeral with him on August 2nd. And it was her, the girls, and Lance. They all went together. And that's what I mean when I say she was an emotional support system for him, because she really could have easily just sent the girls with Lance and then they could have attended his mom's funeral, or she could have sent the girls with Lance and then she came separately. There could have been a million different ways that went. However, she, Lance, and the girls all attended together, drove in the same car, you know what I'm saying? Like, that type of deal. And at the funeral, everything goes good, as as well as it can go, because it is a funeral, so everybody is sad. But ain't nobody fighting, ain't nobody throwing blows. There was none of that going on. But stuff kind of started to go left once they left the funeral and was in the car headed home. So even though it had almost been a year since the 2 of them separated, Lance had started talking to Aisha about getting back together while they was on their way home from the funeral. But Aisha really wasn't here for it. She told Lance that he would have to get some type of counseling, some type of help, some type of intervention before they even talked about getting back together. And I don't know what it was about that statement, but that sent Lance over the edge. That triggered something in him, and he proceeded to physically assault Aisha while their two babies was in the back seat. Lance proceeded to smash Aisha's face into the dashboard at least 5 times, push her head against the window, and punch her in the face multiple times, all while driving. So Aisha, in an effort to stop being attacked, she tries to escape the car. But Lance is not trying to let her go at all, and so he proceeds to grab her by the hair and pull her back into the car and then continuously assault her. Eventually though, while Lance is at a red light, Aisha is able to escape from the car. Unfortunately, Lance also exits the car and then proceeds to beat Aisha on the side of the road. And then he got in his car and then drove off, leaving her bleeding, battered, and bruised on the side of the road. But thankfully, she was able to stop a couple who was in a car, and they did allow her to get inside where she was able to call the police. And there is a recording of this 911 call. And I know some of y'all be triggered by these phone calls, but I just feel like it's important to play them so that y'all can actually hear what's going on. Because it's one thing for me to tell y'all what was said in a certain situation. I feel like it's more impactful if y'all actually hear it from the person. But if y'all don't want to hear it, I'm gonna leave a timestamp so that y'all can skip to me talking again. But here it is for those of y'all who do want to hear it.
12:14 p.m. 46 seconds, August 2, 2014.
All right, calm down so you can get some help, okay?
Aisha Mason.
911, Shaker Police, emergency.
Yes, my husband just beat me and threw me out the car. He has my 2 daughters in the car.
Where you at?
Van Aiken Boulevard.
Yeah.
And like Avalon. He just threw me out the car. Orange Saturn View 2008. I'm afraid he's going to hurt my daughters.
Is he with you now, or did he
No,
drive off?
He drove off.
Which way on Van Aiken?
He went going down towards the police station. He probably hit Chagrin.
Okay, yeah, somebody else called about that. Where are you calling? What's your phone number? Where we can call you?
They're taking me to South Point now.
Who's taking you to South Point?
Some nice people in the car stopped. I jumped in.
Are you in the car now?
In another person's car. Please find my kids.
Are you injured?
Yes. I need some air.
Is it like, yeah, because we're going to, so do you want an officer to meet you up at South Point then?
Yes, but find my kids. Saturn View, 2008.
Do you know the plate? Do you have the plate? Do you have the plate? Do you know the plate on it?
It's, YME 479 or something like that. YME.
Yeah, ma'am. What's your first name?
Aisha.
Aisha. Okay,
Yeah.
Can you tell that driver just to stop where you're at, and we're going to have the squad meet you.
Oh, okay.
An officer, okay? So where are you going to be pulling over at?
We're at this church, St. Peter's
Dominic's?
Lutheran Church. No,
What?
St. Peter's Lutheran Church. They want you to pull over and park.
So where are you at exactly?
St. Peter's Lutheran Church at Van Aiken and Ingleside. Did you find the car?
52252. The vehicle stopped at Van Aiken Ingleside. I'm going to have the squad respond there.
Did you find the
What kind of car are you in?
It's a black. What is this? They have the flashes on. It's a black. What kind of car is this? Mercedes.
A black Mercedes.
Yes. Did you find the Saturn
She's
View?
going to be in a black Mercedes with their flashes on, Van Aiken Ingleside. I'm calling the squad now.
They're here. Did you find the Saturn View?
Are you with an officer, ma'am?
Yeah, they just pulled up. Did
Okay.
you find the Saturn View? Did you find my kids?
So as y'all can hear, Aisha is pretty shaken up. She's telling the operator that she has been hurt. She's badly bruised, that this couple is taking her to the hospital. But through all of that, her main concern and her main focus is the safety of her children. I think it was at the end of that call where she was like, did y'all find the car? Did y'all find the car? She wants to make sure that her babies are safe. She ain't too much, she care about herself, but she's not too much worried about herself. And that just goes to show the type of parent that she is, because even though he's never done anything physically to harm Audrey or Ava, Aisha don't know what this man is capable of at this point, because look at what he just did to her. Thankfully, the police are able to catch up with Lance that same day and the girls are unharmed. But during his arrest, Lance had the goddamn nerve. Lance had the nerve, the gall, the audacity to ask how was his wife.
How's my wife?
What do you mean, how's your wife? Where was your wife be?
She jumped out the car.
Bro, you ain't care how she was when you left her on the side of that road, so don't ask about her now. Just politely take your ass to jail. Anyways, Lance ended up being charged with felonious assault. And while he was in jail awaiting his plea hearing, it is now that he decided to take Aisha's advice and get the counseling that he needed. So while he was sitting in jail, he decided to go to counseling. He decided to talk to preachers, talk to pastors, and, do all of the things that would make him look good. And 1 year later, in August of 2015, he ended up pleading guilty to the felonious assault. And because of his plea and the fact that he would now be a felon, Judge Lance Mason was suspended from practicing law. And then on September 15th of 2015, he ended up submitting a letter of resignation. So he didn't get fired from being a judge. He got suspended. But they allowed him to actually submit a letter of resignation so that he didn't get fired. So he quit. And then the very next day after submitting his letter of resignation, his sentencing hearing was held. And y'all know at sentencing hearing, people can give character statements to kind of persuade the judge to give lesser sentences to the guilty party. And so there was a couple of people who gave their statements. And when I tell you people was caping for this man, people was caping for this man so hard. They were saying stuff like, this isn't him, he's so sorry, he's been remorseful, he did counseling, I'm the pastor and I know him, he's my big brother and he's always been my hero, he loves people, he loves us, he loves everybody, this is so uncharacteristic of him. Like, they were caping for this man so hard. And if it's anything I've learned from my love of true crime and also doing research for all of these cases, is that you cannot vouch for anybody's character outside of your presence. You can say all day that this is not how I know that person to be, but you can never say this is not who they are. Because once they leave your sight, they could be a completely different person. They could be the sweetest, most nicest, kind person to you, but as soon as you're not around, they the fucking devil. Okay? You can always say, that is not something that I have ever seen them do. That is not something that I know them to do. I couldn't see them doing that. But you can't say they would never do that. This ain't something they would do, because you don't know. As much as you think you know somebody, as much as you would love to think you know somebody, you honestly don't know who they are when they're not with you. I mean, just take a look at all the cases that I've done. More specifically, take a look at the Gregory Green case. If y'all don't know about that case, I did cover that case a couple of years ago. Maybe it was 2 years ago. I really don't know. Maybe a year. I really don't know. I'll link it in the cards right here. But this man killed his whole pregnant girlfriend, went to jail, had a pastor cape for him, got out of jail, and then started dating the pastor's daughter, and then killed the pastor's grandkids and tried to kill his daughter. I'm just saying. But anyways, Lance ended up being sentenced to 2 years in prison. And while he was in prison on November 15th, 2015, the divorce between Aisha and Lance was finalized. So Aisha was a free woman, a divorcee. She no longer had marital ties to this man. And she started to move on with her life, just her and her girls. And I know she knew that Lance was going to get out in at least 2 years. And I know she knew that Lance was going to get out, but for the meantime, she had to kind of create a new life with just her and her girls. However, Lance would re-enter the picture sooner than she thought, because he would only end up serving 9 months of his 2-year sentence. And when he got out, Aisha, she was the same person morally. So she still allowed Lance to be a part of their daughter's lives. Of course, with stipulations, but she wasn't keeping them away from Lance. Even though he did try to make it difficult for her, he would do stuff like demanding that they be taken to a Baskin Robbins so that he could kiss them goodnight every single night. And I know that don't sound like a bad thing, because their dad wants to give them a goodnight kiss every night. And if I can't be at your house doing it, or if they can't be at my house doing it, then we got to meet somewhere so that I can tell my girls good night, right? But I don't think, just knowing the rest of this case, I don't think that Lance did that because he loved his children. I think he did that to inconvenience Aisha. But anyways, let's just go ahead and fast forward to 2018. And Aisha has moved on with her life. She has even started dating a new person. I mean, not necessarily new, because this is a person who she met while she was at FAMU. And they reconnected later on in life after her divorce. And they started a relationship. Miss Aisha was out here thriving and surviving as a teacher and a mother, and she was pretty much just trying to live her best life. And if I'm not mistaken, she even had a protection order against Lance because she was not about to play them childish games with him. And because he couldn't have any contact with Aisha, they had come up with a little arrangement of how to hand off the girl so that he wouldn't be breaking his protection order and Aisha could be safe. And that arrangement was that Aisha would take the girls to Lance's sister's house so that he could pick them up and do what he had to do with them. And then he would take them back to his sister's house, leave, and then Aisha would come pick them up and vice versa. Like, so the meeting ground, well, not necessarily meeting ground, but the drop-off point was Lance's sister's house so that the two of them wouldn't have to have contact with one another. And so on November 17th, 2018, this is exactly what was going on. Aisha was going to drop the girls off to Lance's sister's house so that Lance could pick them up and then take one of the girls to their dance recital. So Aisha made her way to her ex-sister-in-law's house to drop off the girls. But as soon as she made it to the doorstep to, drop the girls off, Aisha was attacked right in front of her daughters, who are at this point 8 and 11 years old. And I'm pretty sure y'all have guessed it that this attacker was none other than former Judge Lance Mason. He repeatedly stabbed Aisha with no regard for his children being right there. Now his sister was inside and she heard all the commotion, so she grabbed the girls, she took them inside and she called the police, and she told them that Aisha was being attacked by her brother. And by the time officers arrived, they could see that Aisha was laid out in the driveway suffering from multiple stab wounds. And Lance, he had made his way to Aisha's car. I don't know when he jumped in her car, but he did. He stole her keys, jumped in her car, and once he saw the police, instead of giving up and, putting his hands up and taking his L, he thought that he was going to try to run. And he ended up plowing into one of the police cars, seriously injuring one of the police deputies before he exited the car and ran. And he ran back into his sister's house. I don't know why he would do that, but he did. And so the police rush his sister's house, take him into custody, and then get the medical treatment that is necessary for Aisha. Unfortunately, though, she did not survive this attack. And Lance ended up being charged with aggravating murder, violating the protection order, grand theft, and felonious assault of a police officer. And at first, he pled not guilty, but then he changed his plea to guilty. And the reason that he said he changed his plea to guilty was because he said he didn't want his daughter to testify against him. And when I heard him say that, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. That kind of made me mad because he said, I did not want my daughter to testify against me. Not, I didn't want my daughter to have to relive this trauma that I caused her. It really just gave off, I don't want my daughter to tell y'all the truth. I don't want her to tell y'all that I've been beating their mama. I don't want my daughter to tell y'all that this is a pattern of mine. That's what it gave me. And for those of you who are wondering why it wouldn't have been both daughters testifying, that's because the oldest daughter, Audrey, was born with Down syndrome, so she wouldn't have been able to testify. So this whole thing kind of would have landed on Ava's shoulder. She would have been speaking for herself and her sister. But Lance wasn't worried about none of that. He wasn't worried about her mental. He wasn't worried about her reliving a traumatic event. He wasn't worried about none of that. Everything was very self-preserving for him. And during his sentencing hearing, he spoke and he gave a little speech. And once again, that speech was very self-serving. Like, everything was about him. It was so annoying to hear him talk. And if you ask me, in both cases, the assault case and then this murder case, he only apologized and said he was sorry and did all that counseling stuff because him as a judge, he knew that the sentencing could be reduced if a person showed sympathy. But his sympathy wasn't giving sympathy or remorse or like, I care. It wasn't given none of that. And in the end, he ended up being sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 35 or 38 years. I can't quite remember which one it is. But yeah, I doubt he get out anyways. So he probably and hopefully will spend the rest of his life in prison. And Audrey and Ava are now being raised by colleagues of Aisha, so teachers from the school or administrators, I'm not really sure, but somebody who she was really close to, who she worked with, is now taking care of Audrey and Ava. And I don't think they put them in the care of Aisha's parents because they were kind of older and her dad wasn't doing well. Her mom was taking care of her dad, and so it just didn't really seem practical. But yeah, y'all, that is today's case. Thank you all so very much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. I made this turtleneck. It amazes me every time I put it on that I actually made this turtleneck. I didn't create the design, But I stitched this bitch together. I made this turtleneck. Like, I made this turtleneck for myself. Okay, hurry up, girl. It's 11 o'clock. It's 11:11. Ooh. Ooh, Chris Brown come out on 11/11. What's today? His album. Today the 7th. We got a couple more days. She was a 6th grade math teacher. No. She was a 6th grade history and math teacher at Woodbury. Oh, gosh. And Aisha, being such a loving and caring person, she, instead of leaving Lance or knocking him upside his head, well, no, because we don't promote domestic violence, right? No. He would only end up serving 9 years. No, 9 years, girl, bye. And because he couldn't have contact with Aisha, they had come up with a little arrangement on how to transfer. No, I don't want to say transfer their daughters. That sounds terrible. On how to. I don't want to make this sound like a transaction.